do the right things, you do the right things, you do the right things, land a piece of business, get a fat commission check, then lazy, 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 lazy. And then your sales manager comes along and says, hey, Fred, how about doing those right things again? So you do the right things, do the right things, do the right things, land another piece of business, get another fat commission check, and the cycle repeats itself. Lazy, 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 lazy. It is impossible to grow your income. It's impossible to grow a business if you believe you're only as good as your last sale. What we should all embrace is you're only as good as your next sale. Focus on tomorrow, the pipeline. And if you embrace that, you're always going to be prospecting and you're always going to be positioned for growth.
You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes. And welcome to this episode of the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined by Lee Salz. Again. Lee. In fact, I believe you're a third-time guest.
I think you're right.
Well, I mean, there's a massive
We ride
clue
again, Fred. We ride again.
But there's a big clue as why you might be a third-time guest. You've just written your third book, yeah, or the third.
Actually, number 7.
Yeah. The third in the Differentiation series.
That is true. That's a true statement right there.
Yeah, because that's your thing, isn't it? Sales differentiation. So in a nutshell, what is that all about? Because I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I'm sure you've had the same experience that I've had. When you talk to executives about the subject of differentiation, where does the mind always go? Marketing, right? Marketing is responsible for differentiation. And I argue that there's 2 types of differentiation. There's marketing differentiation and there's sales differentiation. And when we're looking at sales differentiation, there's differentiating how you sell and what you sell. So in my book, Sales Differentiation, I broke it into 2 halves, differentiating what you sell and how you sell. In my book, Sell Different, it was exclusively focused on outsmarting, outmaneuvering the competition, all in how you sell. And then I decided for this new book, the First Meeting Differentiator, to have a book fully dedicated to that first meeting. You know, it's interesting, Fred, there are so many books written, thousands, if not tens of thousands, on how to get the meeting. Find a book on, okay, you're thinking, what do I do now?
There's loads on how to get,
few.
aren't there? Loads on how to get the meeting, and then tons on presentation. Yeah. What about this little bit in the middle? It doesn't really matter, does it?
It's minor.
Well, apart from if we read your book, where you'll say, well, actually, that is where you can make such a difference. I mean, you really can do things that will set you apart, and just it gives you an unfair advantage, doesn't it? Really, if you get it right.
Yes, I say the first meeting is the deal foundation. If the first meeting is weak, the deal is weak. So salespeople, you're always looking for all these magical techniques, the closing techniques, meaning the deal's at the finish line. So what are these magical words that I can say that the book's going to pop open? That's not where the answer resides. The answer resides in how we handle that first meeting. And you know something, Fred? How you handle the first meeting determines if there's ever going to be a second one. You don't get the first meeting right, there's not going to be number 2.
Yeah. There's a sort of, oh yeah, thank you. Yeah. Send us some information. Do get back in touch. And it's like, nah, bye. Yeah, gone. Because, I mean, we'll come in, and if you be so good as I don't want you to tell us everything that's in the book. We want people to go and buy it, but you can give us some bits. Sure. But the other thing that you describe yourself as is a sales contrarian.
Yes.
That just means you start arguing with people, or what?
Well, you know, there's so much stuff that has been put out there for salespeople that they just grab onto it because they've been told it. And it's just flat out wrong. Some of it's changed, but a lot of it was never true. I'll give you one. You ready? Sales is nothing but a numbers game. How many times have you heard that?
Depends how many times I open LinkedIn in a day.
Right, that's true. That's true. Worst counsel ever given to salespeople. Because if you exclusively look at sales through the lens of a numbers game, you treat people like a number. Of course, no one ever wants to feel that way. I'm an advocate for limiting your prospecting. Find someone that says that. You prospect at the level that you can personalize every interaction. Because if you say it's for the masses, the reality is it's for no one. Quality over quantity. So that's one example. I'll give you another one. Fill in the blank. You ready, Fred? You know you weren't expecting a quiz today.
Oh, I don't mind. It's a two-way conversation, mate.
You're only as good as your blank sale. You're only as good as your blank sale.
Only as good as your last sale, Lee.
Yeah, well, I want to have a word with the person that first said that. You're only as good as your last sale. Nothing good comes from that expression. See, if you believe you're only as good as your last sale, you suffer from the sales EKG effect. Are you familiar with that?
Oh.
The sales
I think
EKG
I know why,
effect.
but I can't think of the letters. I can't think of the letters. Go on.
EKG. Ready? I'll
Yeah.
take you through it. All right, Fred, you do the right things, you do the right things, you do the right things, land a piece of business, get a fat commission check, then lazy. And then your sales manager comes along and says, hey, Fred, how about doing those right things again? So you do the right things, do the right things, do the right things, land another piece of business, get another fat commission check, and the cycle repeats itself. Lazy. It is impossible to grow your income. It's impossible to grow a business if you believe you're only as good as your last sale. What we should all embrace is you're only as good as your next sale. Focus on tomorrow, the pipeline. And if you embrace that, you're always going to be prospecting and you're always going to be positioned for growth.
Prospecting and position. I mean, as always, you are dropping things here where there are so many. I could go down prospecting route. I could go down the pipeline route.
Greg, do you want another one?
I'm so one more, but I want to get into this first meeting.
Okay.
But while you're on a roll, I'm not going to stop you.
All right. First meetings. We tell salespeople have a discovery meeting. That's what the first meeting is, and I completely disagree with that. In chapter 1 of my new book, The First Meeting Differentiator, the title, Fred, The Necessary Death of Discovery Meetings. And by the way, you can download the first chapter at firstmeetingbook.com. That's totally free. And here's why I've got such an issue with discovery meetings. If you think about the way salespeople prepare for a discovery meeting, they say, okay, let me make a list of questions I'm going to ask and the information I'm going to share with them. Great. Okay. And one of my favorite questions to ask salespeople. So, Fred, if I agree to take this meeting with you, the meeting you call discovery, what do I get out of it? And the most common answer is a deafening silence. And they'll say, well, to learn about our stuff. Nope, that's not meaningful value to them. Chances are they already have a supplier or a provider in place. So investing time to learn about your stuff is not what they're going to perceive as meaningful value. So let's try again. What do they get out of that interaction? And ultimately, the conclusion is nothing. Because a discovery mindset is an ego-centric mindset for salespeople. We only see it from our side of the desk, right? The information I want to acquire and the stuff I want to tell them. But if you think about the times when you've gone to the doctor for two reasons: to become wiser about your circumstances and understand potential remedies. Now, Fred, if you thought you were a scientific experiment, like you were going to go to the doctor, they were going to gather all this data about Fred, but you'd get nothing out of it. Would you go? Of course not. Who would? But that's what happens with discovery. Now, of course, doctors don't call those interactions discovery. They call them consultations. What if we did the same thing? What if we had a consultation mindset? Because if we did, then we would recognize the person on the other side of the desk also has to receive meaningful value. Freddie, your listeners like free things?
We love things in threes. Of course we do.
Wonderful.
The brain
Wonderful.
loves it.
Okay. If you can, and you're going to want to write this URL down because you won't remember it. Meaningfulvalue.com. I know it's a tough one to remember. Meaningfulvalue.com. You go there and you can download my tip sheet on 10 ways to provide meaningful value.
We will, if people are listening to this and are scrabbling for a pen, don't keep listening. We're going to pop the link to that and the other one and any others that you drop because I've met
Wonderful.
you. I know what's going to happen here. We'll drop those in. But the doctor analogy is an interesting one in sales, isn't it? Because it is used quite a lot. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice.
Yeah.
And I think we sometimes get it wrong because we're probably not as trained and qualified as doctors because they spend a long time to get to that, and we like get a brochure and go, right.
We should. We should.
But we should, yeah.
Right.
And I'm actually just thinking of a time. I was a physio. It was a physio that worked in the way that you're talking with me. As he went and he squeezed my Achilles tendon, and he goes, "Does that hurt?" Yeah, it did. That's why I was there, right? And he could have just said, "Don't train." That wasn't an option. He got into more depth around this and started asking me, and he goes, "Okay, so you're a referee, aren't you? Yeah, and you're at the point where you're moving up." Because I knew him anyway. This guy, you're moving up in the point in your career. You need to get this thing sorted for the future.
Right.
And that and a few extra questions is why he said, "Okay, so in your case, this is what you're going to need to do." So, yes, I could have fixed it by resting. I had to go for surgery because it was about speeding it up and getting the right kind of thing done. It was through understanding that context and helping me understand. I had to understand why I had to do this thing, which wasn't very pleasant.
Fred, and you paid for that consultation, didn't you, Fred?
Oh, yeah.
How many prospects do you think would pay for a first meeting that they've had with a salesperson? It's really the test, isn't it? If I got meaningful value out of that meeting, I'd pay for that time. Problem is, we aren't providing meaningful value. We're all focused on the questions I'm going to ask, got to qualify them, which is a whole separate topic for us. Got to ask all these questions, got to tell them about our stuff. But we don't think enough about meaningful value. Like I said before, if we don't handle that first meeting right, there is not going to be a second one.
Yeah. Because I know we're on the same page. I've read the book. He gave me an early copy.
Yes, you did.
Appreciate that. And, we're on the same page in many things. I probably have slightly different ways of describing stuff, but for me, this is about the salesperson being sense maker. If you help people make sense of stuff, you're valuable. Hey, you can come back. In fact, no, please, you must come back.
That's right.
Because when we chat, I get my head around stuff and I find that incredibly valuable. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about, isn't it? The other thing, it's about value, isn't it? And who defines it?
Yes.
I think we also get that one fairly wrong. What's your opinion on that one?
On value?
Yeah.
Value is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? We don't get to decide what value is. So when I talk about meaningful value and providing that meeting, it's absent buying your stuff. That's not the answer. So, Fred, when we get together, I'll share with you some best practices that COOs are using to creatively reduce costs. So when I get together with you, I'm going to learn something that's going to help me in my business. It's worth it to me to get together with you. That's what I mean when I'm talking about providing meaningful value.
Yeah. Because I heard a CXO, I say X because I can't remember his exact title, I think FO.
Okay.
But saying, look, salespeople who come in and help me understand my pain, because I don't need that. I know my pain. I'm living in my pain. I am highly aware of my pain. I don't need somebody coming in and like poking at my pain. I want to know that there might be ways out of this pain and what other people are doing, because I don't get to talk to them. You do as a salesperson. Show me some of that stuff.
That's right.
I'm all over it. Yeah, but don't keep prodding away at the pain because
a great example is
trained to do.
And in my world, I work across all different industries. So I'll be talking to an executive in one industry, and they'll be talking with me about the challenges that they're having. I'll say, there's a creative way in this other industry that they've addressed that. Would you like me to share that with you? Oh, that would be great. And then I'll take them through it. And again, meaningful value. The test that I look for is at the end of that meeting, they say something like, "I'm so glad we got together."
That was a
That's how
great
you know you
meeting.
hit the meaningful value mark. If you don't hear that in a discovery meeting, because in a discovery meeting, it's all you're asking questions and you're telling them stuff. But if they're getting value out of that meeting, they're going to say something like that to you. Then you have a consultation, not a discovery interaction. I'm so glad we got together. I'm so glad you came in today.
And so, I mean, you talk about the consultation strategy. That's what you're saying there. We've got to get our mindset right of what
right.
it is we're trying to achieve, and then structuring the way we go about the meeting
That's
to
right.
make sure this thing happens. So again, I know you've got a couple of cool concepts. They're TM, aren't they? I got to ask you about these because they're great. What is it's the empathetic. Oh no, what's it? What is it? What is it? So I've lost my notes. I've lost my notes.
Expertise.
I've already written so much from what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Empathetic expertise. That's the fella. Tell us what that is. Tell us what that is.
Yes. So there's an expression in sales. If you've been in sales for an hour, you've heard this expression. Fred, in your career, I'm going to guess you've heard this 4 million times. Correct me if I'm wrong. You ready? People buy based on emotion and justify their decisions with logic. Did I get it right? You heard it 4 million times in your career?
Something like that again, depending on how many times
Ugh.
LinkedIn is open in a given day. Yeah.
Now find a salesperson actually does it. If you and I recorded 100 first meetings, I bet you the deed to my house at 99 of that 100, the entire conversation was logic. So every salesperson on the planet has heard people buy based on emotion, justify their decisions with logic, but nobody does it. So I scratched my head. Why? Why aren't they doing it? And then I finally had an epiphany. I have two sons that played college baseball. And I remember, Fred, when they were kids, just learning the game. And coaches would say, Steven, David, you got to hit home runs. And they'd say, got it. Got to hit home runs. Guess what? Until they were taught how to do it, nothing in their game changed. So that's the issue in sales. We're preaching. We're saying, you got to engage emotions. And they're going, got it. We're not teaching them how to do it. Well, in chapter 5 of the First Meeting Differentiator, it's dedicated to the subject of empathetic expertise. It's titled Emotion, the Deal Energizer. Because if you're only having logic conversations, chances are your deal's going to fizzle out. It's going to go nowhere. We have to arouse emotion when selling. And that's the key here. I don't know if you watch this show, Fred, but my all-time favorite TV show is Law and Order, the original. Do you ever watch that show?
I have seen it. Not a
Okay.
regular, but I know the one you're on about. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it was on for 20-something years, and then it went away, and it came back as a reboot. And last season, there was this episode where the prosecutor was really frustrated with a case he was trying. So I have all of the facts, but the jury's not with me. So he goes to the district attorney, takes him through the case, and the district attorney says the problem with your case is it's all fact, no emotion, and the jury isn't buying it. All logic, no emotion, the jury isn't buying it. So that got me thinking. So attorneys are using emotion to affect jury decisions. Well, we looking for ways to affect decision making? Now, I could use a TV show as a source. So I interviewed a judge, a prosecutor, a litigator, and a trainer of litigators about ways attorneys are using emotion to affect jury decisions. And the conversations were fascinating. I present all of this in the book in that chapter. For example, the litigator said his goal is to take the jury on a journey. Say that fast 3 times. The jury on a journey. To go from having the ability, from having the ability to contract, to convict, to having the desire to convict. Having the ability to convict, having the desire to convict. Bring us around to sales. Having the ability to contract with us versus the desire to contract with us. And they do that by engaging emotions. For example, the prosecutor said, if I have a firefighter on the stand I'm not asking fact-based questions. I'm asking questions like, what did you feel? What did you feel when you entered the building? I want the jury to feel like they were in that fire with that fireman. That's how you arouse emotions, bring them into it.
Is that manipulative though?
Not at all. Not at all. Because when we think about all the issues we address, Fred, before we walk in the door, there's a way they feel about all those issues before we even set foot in that office. We need to understand how they feel about those issues before encountering us, if we're going to engage with them properly. And we also need to think about how we want them to feel about those same issues as we leave. The consultation is the bridge connecting how they felt before with how we want them to feel after. So you gave me an example before. You said the CFO says, when you come in and you want to tell me about pain, I already know my pain. Give me the remedy. Well, in this case, they have frustrations around these issues that you address. How do you want them to feel at the end of that meeting? Perhaps relieved that there is a potential solution to these challenges that they're having. I also might want them to feel even more concerned because I helped them recognize there were more ramifications than they were even aware of. That if they don't do something about this now, they're going to have bigger problems than they even imagined. So understanding those two endpoints of emotions is so critical. And then again, during that consultation, we transition their emotions from how they felt before about those issues to how we want them to feel after.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interview question. I don't think it's manipulative.
No, it's a great question, though.
There's another expression which is emotion drives motion, and that
Right?
we want people to move. We want them to do something. They want to do something, and it's our job in sales as a service, in helping ourselves, in helping our customers, plus ourselves, get to this better place to do that. So I think it is part and parcel of
My
the job.
expression is if you want them to do something, they need to feel something.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
if
yeah.
you aren't arousing emotions when selling and you sit there going, I don't understand. I had this great meeting, and you think
Mm.
about the first meeting, it was entirely logic and it went nowhere. They weren't motivated to do anything. And that's on us because we didn't engage their emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we could talk about this one and the techniques and the tactics to do that, but luckily you've written a book about this stuff. So, there we are in
On
chapter
this
5, I
topic.
think you said.
Chapter
Oh
5.
yeah, we definitely could. Um, so we've chatted about that. I just made a couple of notes of things. I want to talk about that. I wanted to touch on that. We talked about pain.
You want to talk about
Um,
pain?
no, we touched on that.
Yeah.
I just want to get you emotional talking about stuff, which isn't hard to be fairly, because you care. So this is why it's such good fun. But features and benefits, again, I know it's another of your little bugbears. I feel it's like a poke in the bear a little bit. It's
Fred, you know how
easy.
to raise my blood pressure.
It's easy, isn't it? This way
My
you're back
wife
for a
can't
third
raise my
time.
blood pressure the way you are right now.
Well, that's why you're back for a third time. It's just such a cool interview. No, but tell us about features and benefits. I know I know it does get under your skin.
So there's a chapter in the book, chapter 7, features, benefits, and boredom. Again, you asked me before about being a sales contrarian. We have told salespeople you present features and benefits. Features and benefits. Well, that's exactly what you do if you want to put the other person to sleep. It's boring. Boring. But you know what everybody loves, Fred? Well-told stories. So you
Yeah.
take those facts and figures, the features, the benefits, and you envelop them in a story. It's emotive. Use emotive words when you share it. Because again, if you want them to do something, they need to feel something. So you make that an emotive story. See, here's what we're up against. Have you come across the name Herman Ebbinghaus?
Ebbinghaus.
Herman Ebbinghaus, yes. The forgetting
It's,
curve. It's funny that you're doing that.
I'm actually scratching my head because I'm trying to remember
Yes.
whether that's what it was or not. But yeah, the forgetful curve, the forgetting curve. Yeah, yeah,
He was a researcher in the late 1800s, and he conducted a learning and memory study that he called the forgetting curve. And it's still valid today. And what he found was people forget 50% of what they learned within 24 hours and remember only about 10% a week later. So let's do that math. You have a 1 hour meeting with a prospect. A week later, they remember about 6 minutes of it.
yeah.
Ouch. Ouch. That
And in some
study, and
industries, it's going to be less because
yeah, it
stuff
is.
happens. They're not sat there after you've got to go, right, let me just look at my notes from this meeting and try to remember stuff.
That's right.
Something happens. It's like, oh, what? Factory's on fire
Yes.
or whatever, or customers kicking off or what? All gone. Yeah.
Well, and several studies since then have revealed that if you want to increase memory retention, share a story. With that, the features and benefits enveloped in there. Much more memorable when you do that.
Because we engage emotion, don't we?
We do.
Head and heart,
I'll-
head and heart. Well told, head and heart. So we're going to
right.
two birds
Remember,
with
we
one stone,
talked before about the discovery mindset when we say questions I'm going to ask and what I'm going to tell them. That second question, what I'm going to tell them, is completely backwards. Ask yourself this question: what do I want them to remember?
Mm, yeah.
If someone interviewed them after that consultation, said, so what did you learn from Fred today? If you think about the question of what do I want them to remember, they should cite the three main points that you focused on in that meeting.
Not the 33 things that I'm going to tell
Not
them
the
about how
33.
wonderful I am.
Right. So there's plenty of studies. You've heard the rule of three. People remember in terms of patterns, and three, for whatever reason, is the magic number. So everything has to be in terms of three themes if you want them to truly remember what you discussed.
So, so many things. But you're giving us lots and lots of content here. It's all in the book. You're giving us a couple of links to go and take the information you're giving and implement it. Because I'm all about implementation over information. I mean, we're the same. We're cut from the same cloth on this.
Yes. Fred, we should talk about that for a moment, because there's so many sales books that have been written, but you can't implement them. So the way I wrote this book, chock full of stories, but in most of the chapters, there's workshops to download
Mhm.
so that you can put your strategy together by step methodology so that you can implement what you've read.
It's like you're trying to do yourself out of a training job, Lee. What's going on there? Why are you doing that?
Because I provide meaningful value in the book. I don't worry about displacing myself. If I do a great job in the book, the opportunities will be there.
And this is actually something else. And the reason I asked the question is that I've heard salespeople who say, no, I don't want to give the secret sauce away. That's what they've got to buy from us. They won't, because you're not going any further, are you? It's like, I didn't get any meaningful value. End of day. If I could have done so much, should have told them. And if they're going to implement it themselves, they're going to implement it themselves anyway.
My test with this book, as part of the editing process, I have several readers, and one of the groups that I have are my target reader audience. So it's salespeople, sales leaders, executives, business owners. And I said, I'm not looking for you for spelling, grammar, any of that stuff. What could you not implement based on what's presented in the book? That's what I want to know. And so they'd give me that feedback, and I went back and I made sure that everything you read in this book, you can implement, either based on what you've read in the text or by downloading the workshops that guide you through it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's just us practicing what we preach, isn't it? That we would say to you, you give the customer, you've got to help them to take that insight. I love the word insight. I use that all the time. That insight, that kind of understanding that you've helped them get, and use it.
That's right.
Otherwise, it's
That's correct.
You're not really adding anything. So,
Right.
yeah, it'd be wrong for us to be any other way. But okay, we're doing all that. That's the meeting's cracking on well. We've asked some great questions. We've helped them understand stuff with the questions. We've sprinkled in a little bit of a perspective and insight, something that's surprising for them. They hadn't thought like this. They're going, "Oh, this is dead valuable." Told a story. We get to the end. What do we do? Anyway, you know where I'm at. How do we finish? How do we wrap this up? So absolutely, we are going to get into the second.
Yes. I give them my meaningful value test. It's a blank canvas question. And based on me reading the room correctly, then I think it was a good meeting, a really good meeting. So my question is, so how did we do today? I'm looking for them to communicate something to me that says, I got meaningful value. Like I said before, it's a great use of my time. I learned a lot today. This was a very helpful conversation. You've given me a lot to think about. Any of those expressions, you've hit the meaningful value mark. That's the key there. Now, there's
Let me just
only
rewind
one.
that. Sorry. I think I need to
Yeah,
rewind that one because there was the words were very deliberately picked. How
yes.
did we do today?
How did we do today?
Right.
It was deliberately worded that way because I'm setting the stage. This could be a partnership. Not how did
Mhm.
I do? I'm not looking for you to give me a letter grade. How did we do
I got
today? Yes,
it. How wonderful am I?
yes.
How did
And if,
we collaborating and getting our heads around something together
yes,
get on today? Okay, good. I just wanted to
that
highlight
there's
that bit.
energy for us to continue meeting.
Mm,
That's the key.
yeah,
So if that meeting has gone well, we hit the meaningful value mark, there's only one acceptable ending to that meeting.
yeah,
Defining next steps and scheduling the next interaction. You know, it's so easy, Fred. I mean, even in my own world, it's so easy. The conversation just kind of winding down. Say, hey, Fred, I'll shoot you an email next week and we'll schedule a time to pick up the call. No, and right there, G is highest, interest is peaked. Schedule it. And if they say, let's say the next step is to include someone else in the meeting and they don't know that person's schedule, that's okay. Let's do this. Let's put something on the calendar so we have it. And if we need to move it, we can always move it. But the target has to be a fine next step with a next interaction scheduled.
yeah.
That's not a nice to have, it's a must have.
It is easy to let that slip, isn't it?
It is. It's just, the conversation just winding down. I'll give you a call next week, or I'll shoot you an email next week. If you love chasing people into the next century, go with that plan. If that's what's going to happen. You've got their attention right there, right now. If it's in person, if it's Zoom, doesn't matter what it is. You've got them right there. And these days, everybody has their calendar right here. It's on their phone. Can schedule that next interaction with you.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. I love that, and I love that the reminder to do it because it's easy to let that slip. Awesome. I can't believe where time has gone.
Holy cow. We flew, didn't we?
We've flown, but there's a lot of stuff in it. It's one of these that, when you sometimes watch things or listen to things on like 1.5, 1.75, I think we both speak fairly fast, don't we? We might have to slow it down a little bit to make
That's
sure we're
true.
capturing all the good stuff. Plus, you've given the links to those things. You'll probably tell me off for an old-fashioned and lazy question here, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I'm
Fire away.
old-fashioned and lazy. What should I have asked you that I've not? It's a shocker,
Well,
isn't it?
if you're asking specifically about the book, about the
Yeah,
scope, so this book will not help you get a meeting. It's also not going to help
yeah,
you with your demo, your presentation, or anything else. This is dedicated to this step of the sales process, better described as the buying process, and how to put a strategy together that peaks a high enough level of interest that there will be next steps. So it gives you the entire framework to construct for your first meeting.
yet again, you've just said something. I mean, I know it's not a throwaway because you're very careful what you said, but you just thought, yeah, it's the buying process. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's back up here because that is crucial to our thinking today, isn't it?
It
Look, we
is.
talk about being salespeople, we talk about sales process, we talk all that sort of stuff. But when you make that mental shift that actually we're here to help people buy stuff, your
Yes.
life will become so much easier. Yeah, and that's kind of core to everything that you're talking about in this, I think.
Well, a sales process is what you do to someone. A buying process is something you do with someone.
Yeah. inflict on someone would be what a sales
Yes.
process is. I mean, when it's
That is
you
true.
fit down my CRM like stages, we take people, we go on their journey, we join them, we help them make sense of stuff. And so, that was quite a key thing. Okay, so that's the scope of the book.
Yes.
As we say, there's an advert in England which is like, it does what it says on the tin. It really is about the first meeting. Couldn't have been clearer. It's not trying to sell you anything that it's not. What else do we need to know? It's available. Well, I can put links to the availability into chat.
It's available wherever you like to buy your books, hardcover, Kindle, audiobook. And I narrated the audiobook. So if you like listening to me talk today, I'm the narrator of the audiobook. If you didn't like listening to me talk, buy the hardcover or the Kindle.
Did you do that on full pace? It's a 30-minute audiobook. Tick, 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 done. Oh,
Exactly.
Brilliant. And where can people get in touch? Because if they've heard you chat here and they have a question or anything, where is the best place to reach out?
My website is Sales Architects, and that's plural, salesarchitects.com.
Brilliant.
And again, they can learn about the book, download the first chapter, and there are bonuses if you go to firstmeetingbook.com.
Awesome. All captured in the show notes below, so we will do that. Lee, a lot of fun again.
Always a great time,
gone on
Fred.
for a long time. I wanted to try and capture it in kind of the time that people tend to put aside to listen to these. Thank you for coming on and sharing. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Fred. I really appreciate it. And I hope our listeners got meaningful value out of today's conversation.
Oh, they will. They will.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the Collaborative Selling Scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.